Brussels, Belgium, September 1942. Yellow stars were emerging. One here, another there, still another a bit further on, making their presence known, yet providing very little light, scattered about her classroom like some cruel evening sky. They were not the first she had seen, not by a long shot. Who could have failed to notice the bright symbols foisted upon people about Brussels? Normal people, average people, simply minding their own business and going about their lives. Now they could not have normal, average, or simple lives. Now they were forced to stand out within the public, branded as though one's religion and heritage ought to be so shameful. Jews. She had heard it talked about in the streets. Nobody had suspected this many Jews in their city, in their neighborhood, in their street. It wasn't always said with disgust, but sometimes. André Guélin had seen plenty of cruelty and evil in her scant 21 years of age. The Spanish Civil War and its mass of fleeing refugees into her country had seen to that. But she had never seen anything like this. And that she had to see it in the children she taught was enough to make her angry. Not just angry, livid. What had these children ever done to know the shame of being sneered at, of having things thrown at them, of no longer being free to befriend those of their choosing? Day after day she had seen her sweet Jewish students come into class clutching their books to their chests in an attempt to hide their blaring stars, to cover the shame that they now had to carry, to try, little as they could, to blend in once more. Those stars, to represent the Star of David, what the Jewish community treasured so, and yet have its emblem mean something so terribly unholy to anyone. Any Jew over the age of 6 was to wear it, and thus become targeted by the murderers of the soul, otherwise known as the Gestapo. How were any of them supposed to bear a life like this? How were their neighbors and friends of other faiths supposed to stand by and watch? André's only consolation was that the burgomasters had unanimously refused to distribute the stars to the Jews of Brussels, but that only meant that the Judenrat had to do it instead. Jews having to brand their own, because the Nazis were in charge, and the Nazis said so. Well, the Nazis were not in her classroom, and she was not going to allow the shaming of children to stand where she could make a difference. "Children," she said with gentle firmness, "please fetch aprons from the hooks on the back wall. From now on, you will all wear them from the moment you arrive until the moment you leave. Is that understood?" "Yes, Miss Guélin," they intoned as one, their small chairs scraping against the floor as they rose to do as she bid. She might have imagined it, but she thought there may have been looks of relief on the faces of her Jewish children, if not flickers of hope. If she was correct, the aprons would cover the hideous stars completely, and all of her students would look the same. Again.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.